All right, guys, quick break there. Welcome back to the Moonduck coverage of the Northern Arena Beat Invitational presented by Bell. These are the main qualifier playoffs here. First series, kind of not going the way most people expected. Fox, the big underdog here, having no victories to their name in the group stages. Now moving forward and taking out one of the top teams in this tournament so far. They had a very clean victory over Infamous in game number 1. Interesting to have us break that down here. I'm Android, being joined once again by Cap. We'll see how the draft is going to be differing from last game. Cap, what's your take on that?
Well, I can already give you a pretty easy take from an analyst perspective. Infamous, they got shit on real hard by VD's Earth Spirit, so respect ban. They don't give that one away to VD. He did so damn well in that last game. He was the primary reason that Fox got such a good start with that laning phase, but also the fact that shout out to Solitary Judge, for example. That is not an easy lane to pull off, but in the early bit, he did really well to get the experience necessary, and then they managed to play it active with VD. I would say those two single-handedly, just those two, won the game for Fox. Their teamwork and everyone else still looked really on point, but those two went so above and beyond that you have to give a respect ban to that Earth Spirit.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Vidi, not only just an incredible shot caller for his team, but his mobility early on, he had full kill participation till 10 minutes or so. He was all over the map, keeping Infamous running in circles. Now, Infamous coming out with a slightly different opener here. They've got an Oracle, so there's their babysitter, and they go for the Morphling, this hard farmer, don't mess with me, I need 10 minutes alone in the lane, and I'm coming out swinging. I like this change of pace here. They're not going to go for that snowball Slark. Instead, they're just going to go for the raw right-click power of Morphling.
Yeah, it's I'm trying to think how. So Juggernaut versus Morphling is not as clear, I think, as many people would think. This is another conversation that we were having. I was doing some scrims with Blitz. It was like me, Blitz, Yanni's, Hanskin, and we were playing against Milk's. His Danish team that's going to that Ukrainian LAN, that the national one.
Oh, the WSG
and we're playing some
thing?
Yeah, that one. So we were playing some scrims, just kind of for fun and to help Milk's team get better. And we had this conversation about Juggernaut versus Morphling. And one of the things is Juggernaut versus Morphling is actually not that bad for the Juggernaut, especially once he builds the Diffusal and Manta. It's actually quite nice, right? Because the Diffusal Blade, you have something to be able to proc the Lincolns. You can deal with the shotgun combination because you have natural magic immunity, so you don't have to worry about that. And then once you proc the Lincolns, you have this Omni Slash, and you have your Manta burning through a lot of mana. And then add on top of the fact that we didn't actually talk about this, but if you think about the way that these two heroes work, right? Juggernaut, he's a pretty good tempo controller for the first 15 to 20 minutes, right? In the laning phase, he offers a lot of threat. And then in 15, 20 minutes, he offers a lot of solar kill power as well with his Omni Slash and his spins. So that takes advantage of this time when Morphling is near non-existent. Most Morphlings aren't going to be real active for the first 15 minutes. So I think in many ways, the pickup here of Infamous of the Morphling against the Juggernaut, they may feel it's a bigger counter than I believe, at least, that it actually is.
All right. So moving on with the draft, I mean, I agree with your point. I think Juggernaut kind of gets underestimated in situations like this, but either way, the Riki pickup here for Fox, they're kind of going to go with that sneaky roamer, maybe taking the place of that Earth Spirit who wants to be all over the map participating at once. How's the Riki going to differ? How's he going to change up the playstyle of this match?
What Riki will really do is put a lot of pressure on the mid. Now, we don't know what that matchup is going to be just yet. Again, the big thing about Juggernaut, heroes like Juggernaut, Priestess of the Moon is another great example, Sand King in some ways. Those kind of heroes, they have a lot of versatility innately. When they're picked up, they could be, in this case, Juggernaut could be mid or he could be safe lane. There could even be some sort of potential aggro tri-lane that you have to keep somewhere in the back of your mind. So we don't know what the mid matchups are just yet, but we know that Riki has a lot of impact in that lane, and he's this constant harasser, and he may be able to help out the off lane as well. Riki Batrider, they may even start with Riki in that off lane to try and help zone away the supports. But part of the problem with that is that idea with the Oracle before, it was fine. Like, the Riki would actually be really good at being able to help zone out the Oracle, get the Batrider in that lane, and get him level 2. Ogre, though, Ogre is really good against heroes like Riki and Bounty Hunter because there is no real harassment potential available for Riki. What is he going to do? Like, he's not going to backstab an Ogre. That's just not going to happen because Ogre, he's too stupid to feel pain. He turns around and he clubs you in the face, right? And it's the Riki who ends up running away rather than the other way around, which is usually the way for supports. They have to run away from the Riki. But so I think that pickup is really nice and limits the aggro dual lane situation. So much more likely we'll have a lot of mid action from this Riki.
All right, I like this Disruptor pick a lot. Haven't seen it recently in the last couple of weeks. I mean, it's been usually banned out in situations where it'd be strong, but I do love it here. The combination of Disruptor and Batrider, there's so much control over where Infamous heroes are in the team fight. They're not really going to be allowed to be exactly where they want to be throughout the entire thing. There's Glimpse, there's Kinetic Field, obviously Batrider's Lasso and Flame Break, so lots of control tools. What's Fox looking to use to kind of round this all out, get the last bit of their damage together?
Well, I was gonna say OD, but Infamous banned that one away. Smart, because OD is really good against Morphling. What's another good example? Slark isn't terrible. Actually, Slark's pretty good here because the AoE silences that Fox is going for, big counter to the Morphling, right? That's another factor that we didn't talk about with the Riki. AoE silences are so good against Morphling because he's so reliant on being able to jump to his replicate, and he has the Lincoln, so most single target silences aren't that effective. But in this case, they've got really good control, and then the pounce, that leash area is almost the exact same AoE as a level 4 smoke cloud. So it's like if you get pounced and you put a smoke right on top of the center of the pounce, that hero literally can't do anything. It's stuck in the leash and it's silenced up. It's just like a lose-lose scenario.
All right, last pick coming out. Viper's the ban up against Infamous. Is that really something they were looking at? I mean, they do need a little bit more right click, but Viper seems so cheap.
It's pretty good tempo. It's good versus Juggernaut mid, which is what I'm operating on, by the way, but it could be still the safe lane Juggernaut and a different mid entirely. For example, Infamous were afraid of the mid Puck, another really strong AoE silence and good initiator onto the Morphling. So we still, that's the value of this pickup, again, is the fact that even going down to the very last pick, Infamous still don't know exactly what Fox's laning setup is going to be.
All right, so Infamous, they're sitting back. Would Fox be able to get away with a Lifestealer here? I mean, they've got two really great vessels, the Batrider and the Riki, to kind of go for those big infest bombs, but it is risky.
That's actually not a bad idea, right? They've got the AoE silences to be able to control. They need a good hero, a good, like, laning phase hero that doesn't wilter under pressure, because what's very likely here with the Nightstalker 4th pick is that Infamous are going to be running Ogre Nightstalker, and they're just going to be running this aggro dual lane scenario similar to what Fox did last game with the Axe and Elder Titan. So they have to have a carry that doesn't, immediately fall over if he gets run at. And Lifestealer is a good example of that. So that's not a bad one, Annie.
Yay! I did drafting.
You did a good job. Like, it wouldn't normally work against like Morphling, but that's why we talked about the Disruptor, Riki, and the Batrider, right? You have to have those good controlling heroes in order for a Lifestealer to work against a Morph. Clinks now for Infamous. It makes this really hard off lane now between the Oracle and Clinks. If you're running Batrider Riki against the Clinks Oracle, I'm just trying to think how that one plays out. I think they can play it long enough that the Batrider gets level 2 or 3 and then has to back out to jungle, but I think eventually you're forced away by that duo. Riki can't do anything really against aggro dual lanes, so Infamous, I think, have a big advantage in that regard, and Fox will go for the mid Mirana. So the mid Mirana faced up against the Clinks. Clinks matches up really well against the Juggernaut. Sorry, I got my lanes mixed up. I think Clinks is actually mid. No, wait, is Morphling mid? I think it's better Clinks is safe lane and Morphling is mid. It's always better to have like the hero that has sustain and has an escape mechanism to be mid. Yeah, so I think this is okay. For Infamous, I think their aggro dueling is really where this is all going to play out. If they can do well with their aggro dual lane scenario, they can straight up win the game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at Infamous's draft, and it kind of seems a bit group-oriented, snowball-oriented, similar to how Fox played last game, which is have really successful lanes. Check. They're going to have pretty awesome lanes. They can group up fairly early. They can fight fairly early. And once they start their snowball, I mean, Clinks is going to get some decent items early if he's able to farm up acceptably. And maybe Infamous try to close this one out in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, they're okay with going late game, obviously, when they've got a Morphling in their hands. I think the big power spikes are going to be around 10 to 15 minutes for Infamous when the Night Stalker starts coming online, and maybe they move the Clinks from that safe lane into the enemy jungle. Very common strategy. It's one of the few heroes that can do that really successfully, is sit in the enemy jungle and pose a constant aggressive force to the enemy safe lane and the enemy mid. By being able to wrap around from behind or something like that, or from the side. I think that's going to be a big power spike for Infamous, and then the other one, the other really big one, is going to be around 30 minutes when the Morphling has his Ethereal Blade and the shotgun finally can start posing some threat here to the various heroes that I think are susceptible to this. Batrider doesn't give too much HP, Disruptor's a free kill, Mirana gets some HP from Aghanims and stuff like that, but is still a potential pickoff with a little bit of extra nuking power behind it. So there are some pretty good heroes for Morphling to feed off of if you can get a successful shotgun timing and start snowballing from there.
All right, well, mid-Morphling, something I haven't seen a whole lot of. Going to be getting a nice taste of him. Hopefully Excel's going to stick around and at least puppy guard him mid for a little bit. We'll see how that's going to go, because Mirana is... You know, she's kind of chill in the mid lane. She doesn't really get ultra aggressive if she doesn't have to. She's got escape tools with the leap. She can farm up pretty effectively because she has range. Just sit back and spray some arrows. Morphling's got his work cut out for him.
Already the attempted play by VD here. See if he can go big and get the courier, but Ogre's going to act as a courier of sorts, funneling out the early regen that Gantz is going to need against the harassment of the Mirana. And he knows the Riki is going to be spending a lot of time here as well. Already laying down one counter ward, but that one's taken away. Fortunately, VD does have backup counter wards, so he should still be able to... The best part of having double counter wards is guarantees there's not going to be enough counter wards from the enemy team, so you can always play in mid and harass that Morphling if you want to.
Yeah, for now we're just going to see perhaps a bit of a wad of heroes heading down bottom. A Solitary Judge is going to get purged off by that Oracle, held in place for a brief moment. Is there going to be follow-up, though? Ogre grabbing the Bloodlust first, so he doesn't have that hard stun, doesn't have the slow of the Ignite. And looks like Solitary Judge should be able to get away. Throws out a Napalm as a screw you. And these two guys have to slowly turn around and crawl back to their own lane.
That's sick. I love that play from Solitary Judge. Knew he had to get into the trees there. Didn't mess up at all when he went for the Tango E. Fortunately, Valve has made eating trees a lot more accurate than it used to be, because that was god-awful. Yeah, so that's finally been made better. The Ogre is at the bottom lane, which is helping to zone out and keep the Batrider back, but it does mean the Night Stalker is not able to get as much in his off-lane scenario. But then again, the Disruptor is really only a threat, and he's not a threat until like level 3 or 4. When you get the level 2 of Glimpse and then you get the hold of Kinetic Field, that's the only way they can actually get a kill on Night Stalker. Until then, level 1, level 2 Disruptor is really weak when it comes to ganking potential, and all he does is harass. So Night Stalker will be able to get some solo experience time for now, but it'll be a lot better once the Ogre, I think, comes back to top. Because I think at a certain point, Solitary Judge is going to abandon this offlane and go jungle. It usually is that way for most Batriders. In which case, Stinger is free to move up to that top lane. And minute 4 could get messy for that Disruptor.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be looking to make something happen. Now, Juggernaut not having as free of a lane or as successful of a lane as last time, but still getting a decent amount of farm. He's got himself 9 last hits, able to hop in and try to attempt at this neutral camp. And now, like you called out, Disruptor could be in a little bit of trouble. Brings in the Riki, so Vidi going to be trying to participate there. Mango is eaten. There's going to be that smoke cloud dropped out as 4 heroes rotated. Night Stalker bit off more than he could chew, and the first blood goes the way of the Batrider off the back of a nice TP.
Man, what a clutch time for that smoke screen to come up from Vidi. That was perfect, because if he gets off the void, then he obviously gets the disruptor kill, and that all becomes worth it for the Night Stalker, even if he dies there, because he usually buys out, he has reliable gold to work off, and he brings a whole new set of regen into lane, and he can play really active once again. But because that didn't happen, they just straight up get first blood, no problem. And now Riki goes back to mid, tries to play a force here. Too bad the Mirana doesn't have mana, but maybe they can still get this kill.
There's going to be the smoke screen, and Morphling just gets clipped in the back, trying to move forward, at least taking out Brink with him. But even without an arrow, Riki's able to set up a really nice kill. So this mid lane's going pretty all right for the Mirana. 0-0-1, already flying in some goodies to herself. That's a completed bottle on top of the Wraith Band, so definitely keeping Morphling on his toes. Morphling's still out farming the Mirana by a fair amount, but Mirana's starting to catch up, especially if another kill goes her way.
Yeah, I mean, that was just so bad from the Morphling. That was so bad. Like, why would you ever position yourself like that, knowing that there's a Riki who could be sitting on you, ready to go with that smoke screen? He just showed it top. He's not going to be staying top after he just killed the Night Stalker. Like, what's the point of doing that? Of course he's going to rotate into mid. That was just a huge error that Morphling could have avoided, and that it means a lot, because a successful Riki rotation like that gets him to level 3, and he hits this really big power spike if he can get upgraded boots and have level 3, because then he's got this initiating power. He does a lot of damage. The Rikis that stall out and only are level 1 or level 2 and don't even have boots yet, those Rikis are not very impactful. There's like a gigantic swing between Riki and that first successful pickoff. If it happens, Riki has a great game. If it doesn't, then Riki can stall out and not really be too much of a factor besides an AoE silence.
All right, Riki's sitting here, soaking up a little bit of that yummy XP, and there's no vision on either the Ogre or the Night Stalker, so if they want to make something happen, they can try now. Ogre, obviously a super beefy target to attempt on. Like you mentioned, you backstab him, he just turns around like it tickles. There's going to be the glimpse back in. Juggernaut's damage might just be enough to get this done. Ogre will end up going down. Now it looks like Disruptor might pay the ultimate price, does get swatted out, and there is going to be no Omni Slash online to get revenge, so King Tekka should be able to get back safely. But 1-for-1 trade probably still going in favor of Fox right now, unless they lose the Jug.
I would be happy with that, because Night Stalker, like, it's just natural. He's going to get kills in nighttime, so if you can limit that and just keep him from totally snowballing over you, you're happy. And that was just a really good read by VD. Like, we talked about it. We knew that the Ogre would rotate up to the top lane around minute 4, and they would try and play aggressive into the Disruptor. So VD, he makes the same exact read and says, fine, I'll get all the information that's needed for us to be able to get a successful trade-off. They could have even potentially gotten a straight-up kill if Disruptor maybe had enough mana for like a TP out or something like that after the first void.
Yeah, but even so, Disruptor is minimal loss. He already cast off his spells. He already got split XP for that kill. So, you know, him going down is essentially just a free trip back to base. A little bit of gold going the way of the Night Stalker, but like you mentioned, it was nighttime, wasn't a super important kill, and he's still only sitting on face boots.
Yeah, the next rotation by the Night Stalker going to be really important. I would imagine, like, mid is a really juicy kill, right? If you can get the silence on Mirana, it's almost guaranteed, but he does have an invis in his bottle, and there's also seems to be a lot of pressure there already. So maybe he goes down to bottom lane. I would love to see him actually TP down there, go for the Batrider kill instead, and that's what he's going to do.
Alright, we'll see a big rotation coming back in. Solitary Judge playing back. Does have the dust at the ready if things get hairy, if it feels like Clinks is nearby, so he's just going to be playing back. Very, very nice game sense from this guy. Now Riki goes into the river, scouts out exactly what's going on. Again, the vision's still a little bit lacking. You don't have that much dust going around on your Radiant heroes.
One of the best parts of running heroes like Bounty Hunter and Riki, and why Riki was so popular leading into TI, is the information game. It's an element that usually stands outside of pubs, and you only really see in competitive games because communication is just so much better. VD is getting all this information about the rotations of the Night Stalkers and what Infamous is trying to do, and they're just being able to get trade-offs that are always successful for them.
Here we go, Smoke Cloud, and there is going to be a lasso ready on the Batrider. He doesn't have the blink, so getting in range of the lasso latch is going to be really, really difficult. Now Sting is going to go Bloodlust himself up, and there's NRS coming back in, has the Omni Slash, easily able to take out the Ogre if they can catch up. Arrow going to fly right on through. Omni Slash still out of range, and Juggernaut gives up the chase in favor of just going and grabbing the bounty rune, so no kills picked up, but keeping Infamous on their toes. Again, the information game is great, and this entire time there has been a Disruptor getting some solo XP in the top.
You know, Night Stalker's doing really well in CS, man. I did not realize how well he was keeping the Jug in check when it comes to CS. The fact that you're even with the enemy safe laner is really impressive. Judge, oh god, he's dead.
Oh, he drops, but still valiant attempt. Now Benhaz is going to be getting a lot out of this lane. He's already picked up a decent amount of last hits. He's going to be second on the chart, only behind his own Morphling, and overall net worth going to be in favor of Infamous right now, so we'll have to see what the Clink is able to do with this, if he's going to go straight into the Desolator, or if Benjaz has other things on the horizon.
Yeah, and I was pretty disappointed the way that Fox played out that bottom lane situation. The Night Stalker essentially was wasting his time, and the fact that Fox tried to go for this mass TP to bottom lane, it wasn't a bad idea, but they didn't have any real good catch. And that was disappointing to me because I felt like they could have just played more of a farm game and let the Night Stalker stall himself out.
Well, speaking of Night Stalker here, he is going to get grabbed up. I don't really know if he's able to escape the Oracle, doing his damnedest to keep him alive, and there's the Omni Slash dropped out. The Fairy Fire, though, eaten up. King Tech is actually going to be able to get out alive. He stops, goes in for that Void onto NRS. He's going to have to back off and set his sights elsewhere. The Oracle will most likely end up burning down, but saving the Night Stalker is super crucial here. Now the Morphling still going to be going at it. Solitary Judge going to be going in Flame Break to try to buy himself some time. Meanwhile, over here, Juggernaut does fall to the Morphling, so really nice fight so far for Infamous. They get exactly what they want, only losing a support. They should be able to get this offlane bat as well. One more hit means Ogre has himself his first kill of the game.
Another situation where I think Fox is trying too hard to fight when it's not entirely necessary. The Night Stalker setup there was a little bit better, but they didn't have Lasso. That was on cooldown at the time, and they're just trying to kind of run down that Oracle. And then they dove past the tower, like completely unnecessary. It sucks that it was so close, and the Fairy Fire did manage to save the Night Stalker, but I think even then you were putting yourself in a position to get punished for that. And now the Night Stalker is just going to get out of control. You're talking about a fast Ags, and you want to play the information game? Well, Night Stalker is the best hero at it, bar any other hero out there.
Alright, Moonlight Shadow is there's going to be an attempt down bottom, but Flame Break bounces Oracle back the other way, and a TP in from the Ogre Magi means these two heroes have to give chase for now. They can't continue to go and apply pressure. Batrider not going to be getting anywhere close to his blink. It looks like he is going to be going in for the drums build, but he's really delayed in terms of farm. 11 minutes in, not even halfway to drums yet.
Yeah, you compare our two offlaners here, vastly more successful for King Tekka. The fact that he was able to get so much CS out of this lane was a bit surprising to me, and it's just beginning to build and build. If you can pick up the point booster right here off of this CS, like, he's just going to be so tanky, and he'll have such a big mana pool to work with. And we haven't even seen the impact of the second nighttime. So Fox, they got to close ranks for the second nighttime. If they can actually win some sort of fight against a Night Stalker in the next 4 minutes, then that'll be amazing and maybe turn the game around for them. But right now, it's looking quite good for Infamous. Despite VD's successful rotations, the first couple of go-arounds, I would say, I think he was getting a lot of information out, and he was playing a pretty impactful part. The fact that he got a Morphling kill was insane. That never really should happen, but it did. Despite all that, though, Infamous have managed to pull it back in their favor, and now this next 4 minutes should be all theirs, but we'll have to see what Fox can do.
Alright, hasted Night Stalker at nighttime. That is super, super scary. Now Vidi, again, gathering the information, trying to go protect his buddy, but Brink might just be too far gone. Going to be popping out that nighttime. Meanwhile, Benjaz is going to be stuck up in the Disruptor's Kinetic Field Static Storm. Morphling does get low, does get brought down. Disruptor gets the credit for that one. Looks like NRS looking to go further. Does have the Omni. It's going to be bouncing around to a variety of targets, but Ogre not going to be finished off here. There is going to be the Purge up onto the Juggernaut. Going to be in some serious trouble. The Healing Ward is up. Flame Break keeps him safe for now, but King Tekka coming back into the fight. That might be his downfall here. You've got Vidi chasing after him. No more Blink Strikes available. 2 stacks of Napalm, though. It looks like the rest of the Radiant should be able to back off. So in a fight where it looked like Mirana was certainly dead, Morphling's the one that goes down.
You know, I was kind of setting that up, Annie. I was saying, you know, if they do win a fight against NS during nighttime, that'll be amazing and maybe pulls the game back from them. But I didn't believe my own words. You know, it's like one of those things that shouldn't really happen. But hey, kids, this is why you get infused raindrop. This is like the big PSA for raindrops right here. It's got a cooldown of 4 seconds. Did you see what Nightstalker tried to do against that Mirana? He's like, oh, I'll just man up against you. And Brink had total faith. He was like, nah, I've got these raindrops in my back pocket. I'm just going to be able to sit underneath this tier 1 tower. The fact that they killed the Morphling, Mirana didn't die, and several heroes from Infamous, there was 2 heroes that were sitting around 100, 150 HP. That could have been even worse for Infamous. And it all comes down to the raindrops, both on the Juggernaut as well as the Mirana.
All right, King Tekka not going to give up this easily. It's still nighttime. He still wants to find something. He's going to be poking his head into the jungle. There's pings out. Oh, Disruptor. He's so squishy. And with Benjaz rotating around, it's an easy 2-arrow kill for the Clinks. Now almost at that Desolator. Needs less than 500 more gold to get that online. And they're going for more here. There is going to be a Radiant Sentry, so they see out everyone in the Moonlight Shadow. Point blank arrow connects with the stick, but Adaptive Strike comes back in as Morphling's looking for something on the back lines. There is going to be a lasso going forward as Batrider wants to get something done onto the Clinks, but that's an ambitious target, one that Solitary Judge does not have the actual raw damage to take out. Instead, he loses his own life. 5 heroes in the mid lane. They kill off 2 Fox heroes, and they continue to pressure towards that mid. Brink gonna have to rotate out very, very soon or face the consequences.
Good rotation by Infamous going into the enemy jungle, finding the pick off on the Disruptor. That was a good play by them, but a bad play followed up by Fox when they attempted to still go for some sort of fight inside of that jungle area, despite not having their what is a very critical teamfight ability in that AoE silence. Like, you're fighting into a Night Stalker during night, you're already facing 4 versus 5, and also you have to think about like what the enemy team does and the ways they counter you. For example, like the Batrider, that one pickoff that Batrider is usually expected to be able to do will never happen against an Oracle, most likely, just because Oracle has really long range for False Promise. He gets that off and then follows up with Fate's Edict and some heals, and that hero is going to be just fine. In fact, it will be more than fine. It will probably be full HP by the time that False Promise runs out. So there was just like the whole premise of that team fight, and what happened was just very poorly set up by Fox. They got to play close together, yes, but they shouldn't be as active when it comes to looking for fights, not unless they have their full 5-man.
Yeah, I mean, the problem here is it seems like early game Infamous had a really great laning phase, especially off the back of that Night Stalker that totally held his own. Now Morphling starting to come online, picks up the first item, Hurricane Pike. Definitely a change up from the Lincolns that we're used to seeing. Juggernaut, though, I mean, he still hasn't really found his first big item. He's picked up the Yasha, so going to be going into the Manta first, skipping out on the Battle Fury, which I agree with, but it still is setting him behind in terms of farm.
Yeah, the Hurricane Pike, obviously the buildup of Hurricane Pike is really nice, but the big thing here is being able to have that active against these AoE silences.
Alright, now here we are going to have a bit of a run-in near the Roche Pit. Batrider wants to get something done. Nighttime popped out as well as Moonlight Shadow. There's going to be an arrow way off the mark from Mirana. Looks like they lose the Ogre, but Static Storm not going to be doing a whole lot there. Dust popped out. They want to get something. Will they be able to find anything? The Flame Break comes back in. There's going to be a Void as King Tekka looks to turn this on the aggressive. Gantz is going to be going back in. They want to focus on the Batrider, though. There's going to be that Force Staff forward from that Hurricane Pike, and Adaptive Strike means they can easily finish off the Bat. Down here, there was another kill. There's just blood everywhere, pouring out onto the pavement. Double damage Mirana is still up and still fighting. Now Disruptor comes back in, goes for the glimpse, actually gets him up onto the high ground. Maybe he'll be able to escape from this. They've got that gap closed there from the Riki, but King Tekka is speedy. Another smoke cloud comes in. Vidi wants to find this, but looks to turn up. King Tekka mans up on the Riki and outplays him. Oh, Cap, what happened?
If only he had a range drop. If only he had a range drop, maybe things would have been okay. I don't know. That was okay for Fox. Overall, like they obviously being able to get the kill on the Clinks was huge. That was massive. Unfortunately, they lost the Riki towards the end there. I think the Disruptor kind of messed things up a bit. Communication wasn't right or something. Like he glimpsed too early, and if he was forced to glimpse out of vision problems, then he should have called that to his team earlier. Like, there's these little things that cost them that extra kill on the Night Stalker that would have saved the Riki's life in the long term. But I think as a whole, that was still really good. Fox played the team fight correctly, which was go for the Oracle first thing. When they identified Clinks is a problem, and he's got this Desolator, but he's got the Oracle behind him. They didn't just blindly go for the Clinks and try and pop him, because that would have been terrible. What they ended up doing is kiting the Clinks really well with Sticky Napalm and going for the backline of the Oracle and then leaving the Clinks for last, essentially, because the rest of Infamous had streamed so far forward chasing kills. That was the other thing. I think Infamous, they've got this really good 5-man, but what they need to do is make sure they don't stray out too far chasing kills.
Alright, so finally a push mid lane. Fox are able to take out a structure. Rana, she's getting close to that Aghanim Scepter, but at almost 20 minutes in, still doesn't have it completed. That means her damage just isn't really up to par. And so far for her team, she's been, a Moonlight Shadow and a couple of right clicks. Hopefully, when she picks up that Aghanim Scepter, she's going to start to put out a ton of real damage. On the top lane.
Yeah, that'll... Ooh.
Big rotation in, but vision game a little bit lacking.
I think the big two turning points here are the Mirana Ags, which you mentioned, and then the other one's going to be this Night Stalker Ags, because then the information game becomes really tough for several reasons. First of all, obviously Night Stalker is a huge counter to Riki when it comes to that point, right? You've got Night Stalker Ags, and he's going to be given a gem most likely. So he runs around, there's nowhere for the Riki to hide. His whole entire secondary or almost I would say primary job is actually moving out, getting information, being a low-level support. It doesn't matter if you get picked off, you're getting information for your team. That whole entire idea is gone once you're versus a Night Stalker Ags during night. And then the other thing is the Night Stalker Axe is also really effective versus Batrider, because Batrider is another one of those heroes that plays the information game really well, and he uses that information to find these pickoffs. But when it's nighttime, especially when darkness is being used, the map feels so claustrophobic that you can't actually go anywhere. You don't feel that exploratory jump out and get the Pat Lasso. You can't see anything, so you just have to play really passive. And that'll open things up for Infamous. I think they'll have much better map control at that point. They'll get a lot of farm for this Clinks and Morphling, and Fox will have to pick and choose their fighting times around daytime and go really hard in the paint, because you just can't let a Morphling free farm with the added space that is offered by a Night Stalker, right? You got to go for things like this. A 5-man smoke, I would be okay with that. It feels a little obvious because no one's showing on the map, but who knows? Infamous is probably spreading out during nighttime feeling really confident, so maybe you can catch them with their pants down.
Well, hopefully, but so far in this game, it's like Infamous just kind of woke up from a long nap that was game one, and they're just ready to fight. They're playing as a team, they're rotating in, they're making really smart decisions. Now we're going to have some smoke on smoke action moving forward. Who's the first one to pop it? Oh, it's a mid-clash. Immediate dump down. Excel is going to be caught in that static storm and immediately picked out. So no Oracle to save any asses, but it seems like everyone backing off. There is going to be a dust here. Vidi going to be taking a void to the face, but do they keep pressuring forward here? The Dire don't want to get too ambitious. There are still a bunch of heroes up and a bunch of heroes that can rip them a new one.
Dota is a game that is built off of these little things into very large things, and I would say a good example of this, that last fight would have been huge for Fox if they had a Blink Dagger on Batrider. Now they're actually going to get turned around on.
Oh yeah, there's going to be that adaptive strike. Easy pickings on that Disruptor. Solitary Judge could be going down as well. Oh, there's going to be a nice Omni Slash bouncing around though. Mirana getting very, very low, leaping back to safety. She ends up throwing out an arrow, but it's the last thing she does as she's picked off by the Night Stalker now. Oh, another waveform forward. It's looking really grim for the Juggernaut. He's the lone survivor and ends up getting completely wiped out. Fox, they started as the aggressors, as the team fight winners, taking out an Oracle, but they overstayed their welcome and didn't really give enough credit to Infamous.
Yeah, think about like what that scenario is. If Batrider has Blink before that fight at mid, then the entire game changes, right? You have this very big divergent path, because that fight, very likely the Batrider would have been able to grab the Night Stalker, pull him back, and then they have the enemy's gem in their hands, and there's no way that Infamous come back 10 seconds later and turn around on them when there's 2 heroes dead. So this whole entire game just looks entirely different if the laning phase or certain situations go a little bit better for Fox, and that smoke fight goes from not just one pickoff, but two, plus a gem in your inventory, plus good tempo control. Now Fox, this game is very rapidly spiraling out of control because the timing window for them was supposed to be really good at 25 minutes, but they have to play around this Night Stalker Ags all the time, so they have these like very little windows where they can fight, and then most of the time they can fight into that nighttime, that darkness that's ever present. And so what's going to happen is Morphling's just going to have free farm, like almost constantly. He's going to be moving around the map with his boots of travel, getting all these free CS, free pickoffs every once in a while once he gets the shotgun ready to go. As long as he doesn't get caught by any smokes, which might happen. He still doesn't have Blink. Oh,
I mean, he's going to be waveforming away. There is no Omni Slash for a little bit. The flame break back, and they do end up getting him in that FedEx storm. I mean, he's morphing strength. He's living through an absurd amount of damage right now. Most likely eventually picked off, but that is a 5-hero commitment. Meanwhile, Fox are like, all right, what do we do now? Infamous have a green light to the bottom lane, and there's really not a whole lot they can do about that. TPs are few and far between, and if they actually mass go down, they're running pretty light on spells. They dumped out everything but the Juggernaut Omni Slash to secure the kill onto that Morphling.
I like that Fox at least recognized that even if they lost like the last fight that obviously went really bad for them, they aren't shying away from fighting more, because if you look at the way these lineups break down, they have to, right? They just have to go for it. Even if it's nighttime, you have to go for a smoke out and see if you can get either a pick off or a good initiation on a team fight. Like, you have to do these sorts of things. You don't have a better option. And it worked to slow down Infamous a little bit. Not slow them down in the fact that they still got that tier 2 tower at the bottom lane and everything, but at least you evened out the farm game a little bit. You got a pick off on the Morphling and a tier 1 for a tier 2. Considering the position Fox is in right now, I would be happy with that trade.
I mean, it's certainly not the end of the game for them, but now this spike in net worth is going to be harder and harder to overcome, because like you mentioned, the Morphling, he's going to keep farming and clinks. We haven't talked a whole lot about him, but his kill participation's pretty good. He's got a completed Desolator, shiny new BKB, and almost 1,500 gold on top of that. So he is second on the net worth chart, far out farming the Mirana, who seems to just kind of be, you know, blinking forward, going in, trying to continue her farm with the Aghanim Scepter, but I'm not quite sure what Fox's game plan is. If they can go for these full 5-on-5 team fights, they keep getting picked off. The ganks aren't really working out because Night Stalker now has a gem. Oh, speaking of vision though, Benjaz could be in some trouble. Is going to be dragged onto the cliff, goes for the BKB. He's going to be trapped up in the kinetic field, and there's no real way for him to get down. So Fox kind of using that as a pause button. They should be able to get themselves out of there, clearing out Morphling's Replicate in the meantime. But they're going to re-engage here. They want to go in onto Excel. The Omni Slash cleans up the Oracle. And Vinny's going to hop in, goes into that protective form, does not want to be targeted by anything. Meanwhile, Aegis going to be popping back out. Benjaz is back. They go for the dust. They do have the lockdown available. Mirana looking to solo out that Clinks, are able to do so. Fantastic fight so far for Fox. They've got to be careful not to overstay their welcome, but they should be able to get this Ogre pick off. Juggernaut with the phase boots racing after him. He can turn and he can stun, but it might just be too late. That's going to be 4 heroes dead. A triple kill for the Juggernaut. Really, really well played by Fox, and a couple of missteps there from Infamous as well.
Holy shit, I can't believe Fox actually just did that. That was insane. Like, if you just look at the type of heroes that Infamous have and the gigantic net worth that they have by 10k, I would probably give Infamous maybe like 90% chance of being able to win this game. Like 90%. Like, that's how far ahead they are in this kind of game. But it's actually really, really close now, because after that fight, Fox, it's not back to even just yet, but they've given themselves a chance. They've just bought themselves like a huge bounce in net worth, of control of the map. They're going to be able to keep both the mid, top, and bottom lanes pushed in. And what they can do from here is, they're not a team that's hugely reliant on cooldowns. They just need another 60 to 70 seconds before they have all of their abilities back up. So they can actually just continue to fight. And it's daytime too. So you actually have maybe one more really good fight that Fox can take to bring this game back to even. But they need another fight like just happened.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty much against all odds. I'm kind of wondering, what Infamous are thinking to themselves now if they're tilted out on that, because it seems like a fight that should have easily gone in their favor, but really high value heroes like the Clinks, like the Morphling, picked off seemingly like nothing. And the big thing there was, again, Fox learned their lesson. They jumped the Oracle first. They're not afraid of investing big spells into the Oracle, because if Oracle's down, then all of Infamous start to scatter.
Yeah, so many little things went right? Like, they got the Clinks onto the high ground, and he used BKB there, so he didn't have that. Then they got the Morphling inside the or they were able to target the Oracle first. That was the next thing that happened. And then they caught the Morphling inside of the Static Storm without him morphing Strength. Like, those three things all happening in a row spells victory in every single team fight you get. It's just very unlikely that's going to happen again. But we'll have to see. It's darkness for now. So they are going to have a window the 27-minute mark to the 28-minute mark. Fox really have to look for a fight hardcore because it'll be daytime and there won't be any darkness to fear. I think that's their go 100%. Plus, they've got some big items. They now have Diffusal Blade for VD to keep some of these heroes like the Morphling inside of the smoke screen longer.
Juggernaut as well.
Yeah, Juggernaut as well. Him being able to have Manta and Diffusal is huge. That kind of sucks, though. Morphling now having a BKB makes things a little bit harder, but they can still do it if they get the lasso on the Morphling.
Yeah, I mean, it's now that window that you talked about, everyone grouping up. We'll see if they're going to go for a smoke here. Vidi's carrying that dust, so maybe able to lock down the Clinks. Looks like everyone is rotating. Look at that map aggression, just doodling on that mini-map. They really want to find something here. Oracle is going to be invised up, holding on to that invis rune. If he can kind of sit on the back lines and not be the hero that's jumped on in these fights, maybe, just maybe, he can save a high-value target. Now, Vidi, not going to be adaptive struck up. The Moonlight Shadow keeping him safe. There's going to be a blink in. Batrider is hunting. Oh, man, he just wants to find something here. Excel is watching it all go down, giving really vital vision to his team. And no one thought to pop a dust, so they're not going to be able to catch him out here. That's going to be a sentry here. Excel is going to reveal. They know something's in the area. They go for the dust. They are able to lock down the Oracle now, but not before Oracle's able to get off a really nice Fortunes. And BKB is abound. Vidi is going to be the first one to hit the deck disruptor as well. You've got your BKB Night Stalker coming in, and he's angry. It's going to be nighttime pretty soon as well. Oh, God. That hurts for Fox. It's only their supports that go down, but so much map control now back in the hands of Infamous.
All right, maybe I got a little overexcited about that. Because the whole 27 to 28-minute mark, like, that was their time to fight and everything, but I didn't notice that they had 2 more BKBs coming in for Infamous. And I think that's really the win condition for Infamous. Like, once you have those BKBs on all 3 cores, I think Fox just will run out of steam. If Fox could have kept hitting, maybe the BKBs weren't ready yet, or only one of them was ready, they could have actually continued to fight, but BKBs make these team fights exponentially harder than they used to be.
Alright, so rotations are going to come back on through. Judge leading the charge, but look at that adaptive strike. Immediate focus onto the Disruptor. He's cleaned up. There's a kinetic field, but ain't going to do shit now. There's a cleanup onto the Clinks. They look like they might be able to get the Morphling as well. He's going to be protected by his BKB, by the Oracle, but he's on the wrong side of this uphill. He's going to be a little bit too far forward. He does eventually get cleaned up. This is still looking good for Fox if they can cut their losses here. Juggernaut gets very, very low, and now there is going to be that Ghost Scepter coming out from the Mirana. She wants to chase down this Night Stalker. He pops his BKB, and is going to be going in for that TP home, so they're not able to cancel that. But still, getting down that Morphling, getting the Clinks down again, and not losing the Juggernaut Mirana, Fox came out on top.
Yeah, Clinks looks like he didn't get off his BKB, so that was one thing. It seemed like he died really quickly in the fight. So that was obviously a huge problem. I was just really surprised that Fox managed to pull that off. We'll see if they can continue to do that, because that's the thing. They still have to keep fighting. They still have to play really active into nighttime and into these BKBs. They did it once, but to do it 2 or 3 more times is really what's going to take for Fox to be able to make the full comeback and have a chance at winning this game. That was a good start, though. Good base hold. Now they have to translate that base hold into some actual aggression. They need to not be the ones sitting back inside their base. They can't afford to be. With heroes like Juggernaut, like Mirana, you have to play really active as long as your cooldowns are up.
I mean, Juggernaut finally finding his way into the enemy jungle. He's getting a decent amount of farm. He's really closed the gap on that net worth. He was falling behind rapidly earlier on, but he's just about sitting on par with the #1 slot, saving up 3k gold. Is he going for like a Scotty here? What's he looking at?
Who are we talking about? The Juggernaut?
Yeah.
Well, you got to keep some money for upgraded Diffusal. Blink Dagger wouldn't be bad. You want to be able to close the gap with the Oracle and the Clinks. If somebody else gets the Oracle for you, then you just blink onto the Clinks and pop that Omni Slash every time. It's all about the initiation for him. So I think that's his... Okay, maybe not. Buys out the full... Like, if he was going to go a different item, I'm still okay with that. But buying out is a little iffy.
Yeah, especially with buybacks so hotly contested right now.
I guess a Butterfly, if he can get a really early Butterfly, it would be really good. Especially since, I didn't notice this, but Benches has already shown that he wants to go Daedalus, or in this case, we know it's actually Bloodthorn. My bet would have been on Daedalus, but he's actually going Bloodthorn. But either way, he's shown that he's not going MKB. So a Butterfly is super value right now.
Alright, moving forward, looks like Infamous are going to try their luck at the high ground at least one more time, with Morphling actually going into the mid lane to apply some pressure there. So just clearing out the creeps, applying pressure to the tier 3, keeping Fox on their toes, but well, it's getting a little bit tougher, both sides showing that they are not scared of a fight. The net worth graph has kind of planed out around the 6,000 mark, still in Infamous's favor, but definitely not accelerating in their favor at all.
I'm trying to figure out what the... I wish there was some sort of symbol to show what the daytime, nighttime is like outside of darkness. Okay, it is going to be daytime. So this is actually really good for Fox. The fact that Roshan was a little bit later. They have an opportunity here to be able to win a fight around the Roshan pit and gain Aegis for themselves. Or maybe just straight up take it. We'll see.
Bat flies over the pit just a little bit too early. 10 more seconds would have found out the big guy, but Judge still moving forward, still smoked up, wants to go for a catch here. Again, ambitious fight so deep into the Radiant territory, and all the Radiant, well, they're backing off. They're kind of thinking that something's going to be up. We'll see if they're going to go for a smoke of their own.
Well, that smoke pick-off, if they'd gotten a pick-off, they could have turned around, gone straight for Roshan, gotten an Aegis in their hands, and this game looks a whole lot better for them. Really respectable, by the way, that NRS has only died twice so far. He's really helping to keep them in the game, him and Brink. The fact that those two cores have only died, a couple of times, a handful of times to their name, that's really impressive. And it's why their farm is actually anywhere close to contesting the Morphling and the Clinks, despite the fact that Morphling and Clinks have had leagues more room to deal with.
Alright, so a bit of a very Sophie's Choice-esque moment right now. Fox really want to finish that Roshan, but they've got to go back, defend their racks. They cannot afford to lose this. Now King Tekka moving forward, gets the silence off onto the Disruptor, who's now back at his base. Meanwhile, we got a 1v3 going on. Benjaz could be in some trouble, going to get slowed down. The Oracle ult can only keep him safe for so long. They're just going to let him go here. He knows he's going down, strikes out a bit of damage onto the racks before he leaves. Now is going to be Morphling sitting back in the tree line, has those boots of travel instead, just hopping back to the replicate, free ticket out. So in the end, Dire, they don't finish off the Roshan. They lose their full lane of racks with some pressure onto their mid lane as well. Really not a great team fight for them.
Yeah, that was not exactly how I imagined Infamous to be able to win out a team fight, but hey, if you see the opportunity, go full out on that top lane while the enemy team was, hanging around that Roshan pit. You get a full lane of racks, almost get a second melee racks in mid, which would have been huge. But Fox, they will probably get an Aegis in their hands, and it is daytime for another minute and a half. So I think this is your best shot. I give them, I think their chances of being able to come back in this game are very little. Just once the BKBs hit, it was very likely that Infamous was going to be able to close out this game. But who knows? Maybe they can get the Butterfly, they can get an Aegis in their hands. Juggernaut outputs a lot of damage at that point in time. And it all comes down to not just the Aegis, but the right kind of initiation. They desperately need the Spat Rider to find a pick-off to open things up for them to go high ground themselves.
All right. So, I mean, how does this Roche fight go? They get an Aegis to themselves. Maybe they go try to pressure while it is still daytime. But like you said, comeback potential, it's minimal, especially with a full lane of racks down now. Fox now have to keep someone back, always invested in pushing out the lanes and clearing out the base. And you really need everyone together if you're going to go for these picks. Every single hero is so vital and offers something different to these team fights. So, Infamous, they've got a window. They've got to apply some pressure now, maybe even force back some rotations to these racks, perhaps even before the Roshan goes down. It's getting tough. I'm not going to say it's in the bag yet, but Infamous somehow restoring that gold lead into their favor. 10,000 net worth coming out. XP going to be very close to 0, but now it's a game of items 34 minutes in, transitioning towards that late game, and, well, there's some bad boy items coming out on Infamous.
Yeah, there certainly is. The Bloodthorn is almost up for the Clinks, so that'll be big. I forgot the active Bloodthorn gives you True Strike.
Yeah,
I forgot about that. So it means that that'll actually counter out the butterfly entirely, not just for the Clinks, but for everyone else looking to target that Juggernaut. Which again goes to prove that the initiation is king right now, right? If Infamous somehow lead out with Night Stalker or something like that, and he's able to cause some havoc, and Clinks can slide in and get his Bloodthorn off on Juggernaut, the team fight is almost over from there. NRS does have the Manta to be able to take that one off, so the timing of the back and forth play of these individual items is going to be pretty paramount, and it all comes down to who initiates first. Gantz, I love what he's doing. He's just going to straight up go for the melee racks while he knows the enemy team is going for Roche. Unfortunately, they're a little bit too fast, but maybe they can just kill Brink and call it a day.
Oh, they just dropped that poor kitty down. Oh, no.
And now, despite having Aegis, they had that window right before nighttime. Now they don't have it anymore. And in fact, Mirana's probably going to be forced into a buyback.
I mean, these racks are going to be going down most likely either way. Nice initiation here onto Benjas, but again, he's got that invis. He's going to be just walking away. BKB allows him to just stroll through that kinetic field. Ogre going to be poked on a little bit, but I mean, just force back Infamous. They don't lose anything really of value except for a BKB charge. Now Gantz, he's going to be caught out, but able to waveform through the kinetic field, taking a solo Omni Slash. How far is that going to pop him? Are they going to be able to get him all the way down? They do. Pretty important kill in the Morphling. He does have buyback, though. And these creeps, they're charging into the base. Someone's going to have to go deal with that. So Fox can't just immediately turn tail and push as hard as they can.
So what, it obviously looks really bad for Fox. It's sort of like a do or die scenario where they have to push down mid, but the one opening that they do have is the fact that they kill the Morphling, and maybe they can force a buyout from him, and that's, like, if they can successfully get a buyback from the Morphling, then the game kind of resets for 5 minutes, and Fox do have a window to win. It just requires them to pick off the Morphling, kill him while he doesn't have buyback, and then try and get a big advantage.
Juggernaut laying down the defusal charges. He's not backing down without a fight. Disruptor using that kinetic field to keep the Ogre in place. Does popped out with his final breath. Now there's going to be a nice drag here onto the Oracle. If they can get this guy down, it looks like they might be able to break high ground right here. Godlike streak coming out for the Juggernaut. Still hasn't died since the laning phase. He's doing a phenomenal job with that full butterfly. 2k more gold. He can still level up the defusal. I mean, there's going to be that buyback from the Oracle. TPing in really, really far. Goes for that blink back, so Juggernaut not going to rip him to pieces just yet. Speaking of ripping to pieces, here's King Tekka. He's angry. He gets revenge on the Disruptor. Now Vidi going to be the target of some of that damage, but Ricky's not too scared. He's just going to sit back, going for the reset. He's going to get struck down as Clinks rejoins the fight, and Healing Ward taken out. Just going for the TP. There's not a whole lot you can do to cancel this. Juggernaut will get out safely. Lose their 2 supports, but absolutely worthwhile to force these buybacks. Fox, they're showing some serious signs of life.
Yeah, it was okay, but Infamous, they responded correctly, right? They didn't buy back on the Morphling. They, for whatever reason, they kind of just ran out with their supports and got them killed, and it was looking like it was going to snowball against them, but the buyback on the Oracle, not nearly as big of a deal as being able to keep the Morphling's buyback in place, and this means that Fox is still, like, they're still in that situation they were 3 or 4 minutes ago, which is not, there isn't like a whole lot of light in the tunnel right now. You don't really see a way to win. It's just hold high ground, to wait for them to make a mistake. Both, like, if they could have forced the Morphling buyback, then there's like an active way for you to be able to go out and do something to potentially end the game in your favor. But for now, it's just going to be Fox sitting back, waiting for the Infamous mistake when they go high ground and trying to capitalize on that. But we'll see. Infamous, they haven't made too many big team fight errors when it comes to pushing high ground. It was just the Clink's pickoff that happened that mid lane. That was the real bad one before.
All right, now a bit of a sandwich coming in onto the Juggernaut. He's got himself that butterfly flutter. He's just going for the Magic Unity TP, but the bash. Oh gosh, Clinks is able to go ahead, forcing out. And, well, they'll see if they can keep him locked down after the buyback. He's going to go straight in for the Omni Slash, but through the Crimson Guard, not tickling too much. Now, they're just going to be able to easily pick him off once that uphill mischance stops. Maybe they can go for something else here, but BKB's abound. It seems like Infamous are ready to just go in, get it all done now. Juggernaut bought back for this fight. They are able to secure a kill onto the Night Stalker, but Morphling still moving forward. Going to be picking off Brink as well. Mirana does not have buyback. Oh, this is looking pretty unfortunate. It's just Jug left to patrol what's left of his base. Ultra kill in that fight for the Clinks. Now Ricky and Disruptor buy back, but still, I don't know if that's the raw force required to defend this high ground from the onslaught of push coming up from all of Infamous.
Yeah, they haven't GG'd yet. I think they're hoping beyond some weird hope that Infamous like dive fountain or something like that at this point in time, but without the Mirana and without the Bat Rider for 20 seconds, I don't think there's any way you keep this lane of Rax safe.
Yeah, Morphling goes ahead, cleans up the full lane of mid racks, now moving in onto the tier 4s, the rest of the team focusing in on those bottom racks, looking to Mega Creep, Adaptive Strike, tickles Juggernaut, and now, oh, maybe Penhaz is going to get very, very low. Clinks does have buyback. Ricky manning up against the Ogre, but immediate karma for that one, does get sent back to the fountain with no buyback. And there's going to be Gans being stuck a little bit in here, does have that replicant who wants to hop in.
Oh no!
That was a creep lasso.
To be fair, I don't think that's Solitary Judge's fault. Like, he probably had Lasso clicked on where the Morphling was, but then the Morphling replicates away at the same time as he's gonna click. So then the Morphling's gone, and underneath there's a creep. You know, I don't really call that on him, but I am super surprised that somehow Infamous ended up losing that bottom lane push. Like, the fact that they couldn't take that lane of Rax with 2 heroes down is super surprising to me. Morphling was going for like that mid lane push out and took a tier 4, I guess, so there's some progression there, but Fox will live to fight another day, or more than likely another night, with the Night Stalker on the enemy team and about to pick up an Abyssal in not too long.
So, I mean, was that just a little bit of shot calling error on Infamous's part? It seemed like, you know, Morphling was so focused on this Rax and then turning the attention towards the tier 4s. The rest of the team wanted to go bottom lane, but as soon as the fight started going south, I mean, Infamous started just scattering. They didn't have a clear command whether they all retreat, whether they turn and fight. It just seemed a little bit sloppy, and I feel like if Infamous had had some really strong shot caller, they would have been able to go and at least take out the second tier 4.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what happened, but there really shouldn't be a scenario where Clinks doesn't get BKB off, right? Because if he's initiated on, then Oracle should have the false promise for him, and then he gets BKB off anyway. So I don't know what's happening, but Fox, hey, they're playing to win right now. I love this. They're going to smoke out. They're going to go for a fight, see if they can get some really good initiation that changes the game for them. Unfortunately, they're running all the way to the enemy base and not finding anybody, but...
Look at that ward, dude. It's all worth... yeah, they weren't able to find anyone. They committed the scan as well, and they did intentionally run right past this creep wave so they don't reveal, so they don't have that backdoor protection in their favor. They can't just slap away at these racks without really facing some damage. Ben Jazz now going to be holding on to 4,500 gold, so his next big item is going to be pretty crucial to ending out the game. What does he go for here?
Sorry, on who?
Clinks.
I missed it. Clinks, I mean, you could go whatever you want almost on Clinks. I would like a Scotty, honestly, because he's dying a bit too much to the Omni Slash. I would like him to stat up a bit. I think that's probably the safest choice at this point in time.
All right, now everything resets here. What are we waiting for? Are we waiting for nighttime, daytime, Roshan? It seems like both teams a little bit scared of what the other has to offer, so no one's fully committing.
We're just waiting on nighttime and Roshan. Like, it'll happen pretty much at the same time. Unfortunately for Fox, the whole entire Roshan potential spawn time will happen during night. So very likely Infamous will get that one. They also had some extra items, like I talked about the Abyssal Blade. The Night Stalker was farming up. Well, he has it now. And that's really big, right? Because it means Juggernaut can no longer spin TP out and hope beyond hope that he doesn't get bashed now. We have some hard lockdown against these heroes that the Night Stalker can use to be a damage carry. Like, he's actively in their faces all the time, and his physical damage is really good, and it just got a whole lot better with that Abyssal Blade and the lockdown it gives.
All right, so if you're Infamous and there's a buffet of yummy Fox heroes in front of you, who's your primary target?
If you can actually pop a damage dealer like Mirana or Juggernaut, that's nice. Otherwise, just kill Disruptor if you can.
All right, so Ogre reveals himself. King Tekka goes in, tries to initiate onto the Juggernaut. He immediately responds, tries to get himself away. So Infamous, they're poking their heads up. Meanwhile, down bottom, that's going to be where the real fight goes down. They're trying to go onto the Morphling. He's silenced up, goes for the BKB. There's no replicate available. Meanwhile, up on the base, there was Klinks picking off the Disruptor, looking for another kill as well. Oh god, the Juggernaut hits the deck. There's no buyback. Solitary Judge doing what he can, but I think this might be the end. Moonlight Shadow will keep him alive for now, but the GG comes out as there's just no more damage left on the side of Fox. So Infamous, they are able to secure game number 2 of this best of 3 series, and that means we're heading into game number 3 next.
Yeah, Infamous played it really well. I think the primary reason they won this game was off the back of the Night Stalker, and how he was able to transition really well to a fast Ag and Scepter. And then once they have that Ags, it sets up this situation where Fox lack a lot of map control. And with a Morphling and a Klinks, they're able to get, spread out, get a lot of farm. And then at that point in time, you just turn into BKBs, and then that guarantees team fights, right? Because they invested so heavily into AoE silences against the Morphling that the BKBs would kind of reign supreme.
All right, so again, everyone got to sit tight. Game number 3 coming up. Definitely going to be an intense series. Infamous, one of the favorites in the overall bracket. Team Fox, certainly an underdog, but we're tied up at 1-1. Anything can happen. I'm Android. That's Cap. Sit tight. Game number 3 in just about 2 or 3 minutes.